It is now my great pleasure to introduce our first keynote speaker, Richard Hsu, who will join us from Hong Kong. Born in Shanghai, Richard spent his teenage years in Europe, professionally trained in New York, Japan, and Southeast Asia, and now lives between Shanghai and Hong Kong. Richard advocates a balance between culture, business, and purpose, and you'll see that in his talk. In his 40-plus year career, Richard has been involved in some of the most prestigious companies and projects in the world with organizations like the New York Times, Sotheby's, Museum of Modern Art, Madison Square Garden, L'Oreal, Boeing, Sony, Isetan, Warner Music, Shiseido, Nike, Adidas, and the list goes on. Richard is a professor of practice at Tongji University, foreign trade consular of Luxembourg to China, and ambassador to Danish design. He's passionate about designing and imagining for those that are forgotten. Please welcome Richard Hsu. Richard, would you unmute your microphone? I don't think we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Yeah, can you hear me now? I am blushing a little bit after that introduction, and I'm going to go right into my presentation. Thank you very much for having me, WDO. Thank you, Srini, and your amazing team. I'm going to go right into the presentation. Are you able to see this full screen? If I don't see anybody stopping me, that means it's okay. The 30-second World Design Assembly. This is my first time joining. It's a great pleasure. I live usually in Shanghai. I'm in Hong Kong for a couple of months to take care of my parents, and happy to be here and meeting everybody online. I'm going to add a few words to design for the unimagined, and please also allow me to kind of broaden this title. Imagine for the forgotten, for the less careful. Imagine awesomeness. I think we will see how my presentation can live up to some of these words. I will do a little bit of setup. Because of time and circumstances, I think this is really a great time to self-reflect and do the best work we can ever do in our lives, because I think everybody around us need it. I just put some examples: COVID, the Great Resignation, geopolitics around the world, love and hate, and probably there's more hate expressed than love these days, despair, and planet, and how we must care for our planet. It's time for people and companies. We also notice that there's more time for us because we have managed to slow down, self-search, quiet and mindful. And we see great companies, a lot of companies have turned around, have changed themselves in this period, and people as well, of course. Time to practice. I believe there's no better time to practice empathy, passion, care, emotions, and some tears. It is not the time to be scared, to mumble, to feel limited, to be too well-behaving. I say that sometimes too often. I think we have to be bolder, to be told not to do things, and spend too much time thinking of I, me, and I. Thank you, WDO. I think this is a great opportunity for, in a presentation like this, that we actually self-audit. We try to find ways, are we linking the dots that we've connected? Are we making good use of all the great things that we've come across? And are we shedding light to some of these talents and examples? And I believe more and more that the good work that we do, could it be the legacy that we leave behind? And another way that I say very modestly, especially when you're not in a conference room of hundreds or thousand people, you're actually by yourself in a room, that maybe it is really not about speaking about us, but really speaking about what is important for me to God, or how do we transfer ideas and thinking to 10 children, young children that you care for. I often look at projects, work, and thinking as purpose, do, action, and impact. I'm not going to read the slides out. And these three parts of a timeline, of a work line, is also defining why, how, and what. Why are we doing what we do? And how do we do it at the maximum capacity, at the maximum impact? And how do we find ways to impact? It doesn't have to be always 1 million, but impact 1, 10, 100, 1,000. Excuse me if I repeat a couple of words over and over again. I tend to do it. Network of network, balance, radically inclusive. Don't just use the word inclusive and not mean it. Heart before design, so the design actually shows your heart. Heroes, unsung heroes, the ecosystem that we're part of, and how do we keep on paying things forward. I'm going to go into content. These are the 7 categories, and as a Chinese, we are often told since we're very young that shouldn't spend too much time talking about yourself. So I'm really going to share more the things that have informed my perspective, like Srini has mentioned, and also the projects and people that have moved and taught me in this beautiful life that we live. I'm going to go into each one very quickly, and please look at this example thinking it's a bad edited film. I always use this line because I'm going to show a lot of examples. And I think the flow of these examples will show you how I was influenced, how I like to do my work, and how I would like to help my students, my clients, my cities to move forward. Education and learning, push and pull. I always like to put the word learning next to education. It has to be 2 ways. I'm going to share some examples. One of my favorite examples, I just finished a conversation right now about design education in China. And I cannot think of a better examples to look at. Stryker Institute in Moscow. It's a school formulated by 5 people. They know for decades that Moscow was not the best design school, and it was not going to become one. So they want to make a difference, they want to change it. And that's how Stryker was formed and created. It became what they call the City of Opportunities. One of the main founder, Ram Koolhaas of OMA. And the smart things about the school was formed, they have an olfactory, and they actually created into a bar, into a very popular place. So it became really the hot spot. And then education really stemmed from it. We can see the classroom underneath, and also the summer classes for the public, for the city of Moscow. We're very lucky to host them in Shanghai, to do a collaboration, Moscow-Shanghai exchange. Rolex, mentorship and protege, one of the best mentorship program I research and find. The idea of all different areas of culture to find amazing masters, and each one of them have one protege, one student that they mentor for 1 year. So you don't have to impact 1 million, 1,000, 100. In this case, look at how they would change the life of one person, how profoundly the work has changed. And these are the incredible people, from Peter Zumthor to Zhang Yimou, John Baldassari, etc., etc. Panyadan School, Chiang Mai, Marcus Rosli. I visited him a number of years ago and was really, really moved by how he went from being a doctor. He was tired of looking at sick patient and blood, and he took his knowledge of bones and structures and healing into the idea of bamboo. With research and everything that he has done, he has created one of the most amazing bamboo school, green school in the world. It's called the Payandan. It's a K-12 school in Chiang Mai, northern Thailand. And all from self-experimentation and self-learning, and how so much of it grows from nature and inspired by nature. No columns across their gym, their lecture hall, their sports hall. 826 Valencia. The time that I spent with TED and TEDx, I came across Dave Eggers and this incredible idea. 826 is the address in San Francisco. He took a lease in a space because he wants to teach children from other countries better English. And he created a program called Once Upon a School. Since 13 years, he has had over 2,000 volunteers, and he has touched over 350,000 students. And 88% of it are children from different countries. What's interesting about the lease that he had to open a store, not a school. So he created a store in the front. So all students had to go through the store to go to the classroom in the back. And the store was actually a store for pirates, so that the children can see things, explore things by the time they start the classes. And the number of publications and writing these students have created is just beautiful. Hong Kong University, Olivier. Olivier has created these structures built with local people in villages in different parts of China, but for different use. In this case, a library. The names of the architecture of these pieces are very simple. Pinch, like a pinch of piece of paper, warp, and sweep. How do you cantilever a library so the books don't get in touch with the water? And it becomes something that you leave behind. This is what I call responsible tourism, or what do you leave behind as a tourist, as a place that you go to. Haikao School of Economics. Dean Chen is somebody I've met a number of years ago, and with great admiration and great collaboration with him at Tsinghua University. But he has 4.5, 5 years ago, he has moved to sort of a village. He moved to the island of Hainan. And for a number of years, I didn't actually understand why. And I visited him and spent time with him. This is Dean Chen. And this is Hainan, southern part of China. If I don't hear anything from anyone, that means the presentation is still going on. There was a little hiccup. Sorry about that. And his idea is very simple. All the big schools in China gets the best professors, gets best students, and they move forward in big strides. What happened to second, third, fourth tier cities? How can we bring good education to those places? So this is his journey. This is what he's doing for the last 6 years and for the last 4 years and going forward. And he has brought many of us to assist him, to work together with him. Going to design, I'm going to move quicker. Thomas Dambo in Copenhagen, Denmark. With no assignment, he just basically took pieces of wood and started building. Thomas Dambo from Copenhagen. How he brings a little bit magic to the garden, to the woods. Experiential. Krumbach. Many cities are not able to build museums and theaters. This is a great example of a township in Austria called Krumbach. They invited 7 architects to design 7 bus stops. And to go a little bit deeper, not just creativity, imagination, but the only condition they ask all the architects is please work with the craftsmen, local craftsmen, so that the local craftsmen, woodworkers, glass, and metal workers will all learn from you. Chalet. An architecture firm I respect very much, Snohetta of Norway. They do great work. I'm not going to show it, but this is something that really touched me. They created this little chalet all across different mountains because it gets super cold at night. And each one of these chalets, all the chalets are not locked. So when people are finding late at night before getting back to the camp, getting back home, they can just go into the chalet and stay for the night. These are the happy people of Snohetta. Edible Chopsticks. An advertising agency in Shanghai, Fred and Farid, looked at the number of chopsticks that are destroyed, that are thrown away every single day. The number is somewhere around 80 million chopsticks a day. And they created 3 different styles, 3 different tastes of chopsticks. They're eatable, they're biodegradable, made of wheat, corn, and sweet potato. Jan Bombing. I've been following this artist's work for a long time. I finally reached out. I did not understand. I just wanted to speak and understand more about why she knits everywhere she goes. And this happened to be a few projects that we've worked together in China, across China and Malaysia. The first time she met me, she said something within the first and second sentence. She says, "You don't knit for hate." The concept is most people knit because of love. So when people come across things that are knitted, they smile and they're happy about it. Cities, township, and villages, South by Southwest. How every year the city of Austin brings the whole city together to celebrate around creativity, digital, design, music, film. More and more people are talking, can festivals take more parts than conferences, so that everybody can interact far more and far intuitively. Prado Museum, our friends Coordination Asia in Shanghai, brought the Spanish Museum to the Shanghai subway, Shanghai Metro. People are not traveling around the world, so why not bring the world to places you go every day? Bring culture to everyday experience. Penang Institute. We were asked a question some time ago by the government of Penang, northern Malaysia. How does 11 government bodies can lifelong learn different things they need to know? We put together a little idea. We brought in 12 different experts from all different backgrounds and spent a day and a half together. And within this experience of co-learning, we created a book called Made in Penang for the chief ministers as well as for the ministries. 100% Berlin. Rimini Protocol of Berlin, they created a statistical chain reaction. Entirely organically bringing 100 people from the city together, all different backgrounds, all different class. And they were put into a theater and using questions to create performances. The questions would ask people to choose left or right, me or not. And it became one of the most beautiful set of performances. And I was lucky to experience it in Malaysia. And because some people do not want to be recognized for some questions, they turn off the light and just use the flashlight so people know how people vote without giving away their identity. Joe Siddick, who put together the 100% Penang, Georgetown Festival. Incredible programming, one single man, not even from culture background, come together, bring in 200,000 people a year together for 1 month celebration in Penang. Architecture, dance, theater, photography, etc., etc. It's incredible someone who is not trained in curation, who is not trained in theater, has got to know more than anybody else. And he is now doing this on in the forest, in the jungle forest of Sarawak. This is his rainforest festival, bringing in great photographers, bringing in great ideas to show. This is Joe's great work. Bamboo architecture, Bao Si Zhejiang. 12 architects. The intention is how do you put a village in a map of tourism, of visit, of farm stay? 12 architects came together and created the Biennale, the Bamboo Architecture Biennale. Technology, I'm showing 2 examples. Jonathan Harris and his classmate Sep Kempa has created the concept of We Feel Fine when they were in school. A great algorithm that picked from the internet everybody that used the word feel, and they track how many people at different parts of the world are feeling what. They don't disclose identity, but you can find out at any given time different age groups how they feel, and what is the most common feelings on Earth, what is the most common feelings in Asia, etc., etc. Again, statistical and big data. Brinkle, Hanti Chan, Harvard, MIT, and he was looking for purpose. He came across a student that got his arm unfortunately blown away, and he said, "Let me try to work on brain waves controlled fingers, prosthetic." And now he's able to control 10 fingers, brain waves, using brain waves, as well as working on legs at this point. Planet. One of the great conference and meetings I've been in 2020, The Great Works of Our Time by John Liu. He's the head of ecosystem restoration and a filmmaker. Human restoration, earth restoration, water restoration. 900 people follow his talk for 5 hours to realize there's some amazing people around the world actually doing great work. Some of the work are very small, and all of us were in awe. All these people are planted all over the world, helping the planet to be better. The other 100, the publisher Gift Global Institute for Tomorrow in Hong Kong, put together 4 books featuring things, people, ideas that are not usually in media. So the other 100 photographers, the other 100 educators, entrepreneurs, and healers in the world. Aga Khan Award for Architecture, an award that is not just meant for million-dollar structures, few hundred years heritage, but also $100 huts that is actually serving a purpose for the towns, for the cities, for the villages. Ma Ke, one of my favorite fashion designers in China. Her brand Wu Yong means useless, and how she explore and work with countrymen, very, very far places, understanding, learning their fashion, their material, and truly unsung designers. How designers are not necessarily trained from school, but from necessity and from intuition. it is certainly not useless. This is Marker. She is very seldom seen to the public. Together we win. I want to show a few examples of how communities and people come together to do some meaningful things. I learned through John Liu there's something called the Sorry Day, the National Sorry Day. Australia, 1998, created the first National Sorry Day when the country came out and apologized to the Aboriginals. Ubuntu, South Africa and across Africa, many countries use this word. I think many of you know what it means. I am because we are. So I think it is something that you don't teach at school. It is actually coming from early privilege of being born. Burning Man, the 10 principles of Burning Man. These principles are not necessary for people that want to go to the desert for that 1 week, but how do we actually practice and use it out on our daily life? 80,000 people come together for 1 week. A number of people come together a month to build the city. To build a city that people can express, people can feel free, can be creative and not necessarily for client. Damagiri Orphanage in Mae Hong Son, northern Thailand. Because of a friend who is a monk, a number of friends came together and helped him build this orphanage for 120 children. And a few times a year, we would visit and we would create projects and experiences with the students. This is the head monk who is in charge of it. He was our classmate, decided to be a monk after studies. And this is what we actually help him achieve to build this orphanage. And he's a great leader of it. This is the music in 3 days. A couple of friends came together and we taught the kids how to sing Christmas songs. And Christmas is certainly very far from Buddhism culture. Suspended coffee, a movement that moved me quite a bit. Cafe Espresso, an idea from Naples over 100 years ago when they were having really economic difficulties. So if you do have a little bit more money, you can buy 2 or 3 coffees besides the one that you drink. And they will put a sticker on the window in the window so other people can come have a cup of coffee for free. And this movement has gone quite across different parts of the world. Heroes, I'm going to go very quick. Oh my God, who stole my ads? Etienne Paris. He dressed as a advertising paster, and out of his own pocket, he created these images and he puts all across Paris and the countryside. So the advertisers, the agencies would say, didn't we have an ad here? And this is him on the bottom right doing his magic. Alfie Ling. Alfie Ling is a great florist, flower designer, bringing together 20 friends, 20 designers, go into a wet market and help all the stores to change from the left image from the past to cleaner, more presentable, more attractive stores. Everything's handmade. And to top it up, he took a public bus, turned the entire public bus into a park so people can use the bus to go to the park or sit in the park to go to the market. Indian taxis, how extraordinary. Lego Dispatch, the cities are too busy and impossible to fix the gaps in our cities. So one artist and his extra pieces of Lego came to play and it became a movement across many parts of Europe and Asia. I never read book fair. I passed along this book fair in Basel, and I was quite amazed. One man, Johannes Willi, brought together 200-some publishers of handmade books. All the books in this book fair are handmade by different publishers across the world. It is now one of the greatest book fair out there. Salvage Supper Club, Josh from School of Visual Arts. So much food has been thrown out because it doesn't look good, because it is a slightly bit damaged. Josh had brought together chefs, food scientists, and cleaned up dumpsters in New York and across the US and created the Salvage Supper Club. The chef will come and explain the food, talk about the food, talk about how do you salvage food from supermarket that are thrown them away for small little dent, but equally delicious and wonderful. I added something to the 7 content. Yesterday, I was reminded by a friend in the early morning something that we did in 1994. He invited me to his project in Bali. He had a little bit of money, and he did this as a birthday present to a very good friend of ours. He brought together the original choreographer and the maker of the Balinese dance. They are in the 70s, 80s, 90s. And he went to the research project, and this is the places that we work from. And he brought all these, she's one of the early founder. At age 79, she performed. She was the first to perform in the 3-day performances. And at the end, her great-grandson performed the finale. And this is documented by great designer William Harold Wong. And I was just reminded of this yesterday. The reason I want to show this is because we talked about design for the unimagined, but I think also the knowledge for the unimagined. I think all these things that we come across in our life, we never know how much it impacts us. So my response to R3 yesterday, what we experienced for those few weeks in Bali, it stayed with me for a very long time. And I think it has influenced our work. So more and more, I think the idea of design for the imagined is unimaginable, where we learn things, where we come across things that is unexpected. And I believe the things that we hang on to, the things that we stick to the most are the ones that move us the most. So I also put this idea of design to move self and design to move people. Thank you very much, WDO. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much for the audience.
Thank you, Richard. I really enjoyed your presentation. That is so fantastic. It is like a world tour of unexpected design. So there's a couple of thoughts I had from what you talked about. I loved your principle as you went across Swiss chalets to edible toothpicks to bamboo, and this notion of connect the dots. My friend Ming Li often says, the world has shifted from one of dots to one of lines that connect the dots. So there's something new emerging in the world, which is about boundarylessness as we move into the unimagined. So thank you for shining a light on designing for the unimagined and how to imagine for the forgotten. Thank you again for the deep humanity of your talk.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
May I also borrow a few words from my friends? Actually,
we take 10 seconds from you before the next speaker is walking in.
Okay. A line is actually a dot going for a walk.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. What a great. Thank you for that. Thank you, Richard. It's a pleasure.